Talking about a revolution sounds. Don't you know? Talking about a revolution, it sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in the welfare lines, crying the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know? Talking about a revolution sounds. Who are people gonna rise up and get their share? Who are people gonna rise up? Take what's there. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run. Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Cause finally the tables are starting to turn. Cause finally the tables are starting to turn.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, the 27th day of October. The year is 2014, and if you can hear the sound of my voice, then you are the revolution. My name is Smokin Mekhael, and this is the revolutionary nightly news, smashing through the lies of the Illuminati, New World Order government, who want to control you, who wants to control your family, who wants to control the type of food that you eat, the type of water that you drink. They want to put poison in your food. They want to kill people all across the world, and they want you to pay for it. No more. Not on my watch. That's why I'm here spreading the truth. Let's get right into it. You will know that there was a shooting at the Canadian Parliament building, and it looks already like this shooting was a false flag attack. How surprising, coming from this global network of governments who are the masters in false flag attacks. This article from DutchSense.com. Canada Parliament shooting false flag. Cameras pre-stationed at every angle. Canada had a shooting at its Parliament building. Watch raw video of the shooting as it happened live here. Here is a mashup of both first-hand videos at the scene of the shooting. There should be at least 2 more camera angles since there were a total of 4 cameras present. You can have a look at those videos yourself in your own time. One thing about this live action shooter video that stands out to me, one glaring fact that cannot be overlooked, one absurdity beyond absurdity that would never happen in a real situation like a random spontaneous shooting. What's with the cameramen pre-stationed at every angle, hiding from other cameras' view, ducking out of the way of the video, not hiding from the shooters? And you can see them here. You can look at this article at DutchSense.com. You can see the URL right there. At each pillar, we see high-quality media video cameras stationed in front of the pillars as to try to avoid being in each other's shot, not hiding from a shooter, as they were fully exposed. You can see that here. Then, as if one camera out in the open isn't enough, another cameraman is right behind, using a nice wooden chair to rest his camera on. Just hanging out in the open, no big deal. This guy. And to top it up, a third cameraman ducks behind our rolling cameraman. This is the striped shirt guy. Notice each cameraman is different. One wearing a green shirt, one wearing a striped shirt, so we know it's not the same person twice. 3 total media cameras in the live shot of the shooting, and the camera rolling, which we're watching to get this video, makes the 4th. Then our cameraman runs down the hall, uncut to another area, where we see at least 3 to 4 more cameras, and with sound engineers on hand as well. No one else there, just police standing and multiple cameras and sound engineers with microphone booms. All these cameramen stationed in multiple spots literally as the shooting took place. For sure, the 3 cameramen in the hall, plus the guy filming that we see above. False flag, total hoax, media staged, or forewarned to be there ready to roll. Combination of these. For sure, too many cameras on hand, and for sure they're not hiding from gunmen, but from each other's view. And we have another article here from Max Resistance, where an anonymous witness made a report about this strange activity before the shooting happened. I'm a legislative assistant, and here is the view outside my office at 9:30 a.m., about 15 minutes before the crazed gunman. Just a ton of cops hanging out by the West Block for no reason. And isn't it amazing that as this happens in Canada, they pass new anti-terror legislation? And furthermore, it seems that the US media had knowledge about this as it was happening. Quoting US official sources, US media had advanced knowledge of the Ottawa shootings prior to Canadian media. It's from globalresearch.ca. Government envisages anti-constitutional surveillance law during Ottawa shooting. And it goes on to say how Canadian media people they were stopped from filming. People were pointing guns at them, the police. Let me see. At 12:11 p.m. EDT, the CBC's Katie O'Malley reported her group was ordered to leave a local rooftop by police as they continued to search for a culprit and attempted to secure the area. By 1:14 p.m, Miss O'Malley reported a continuing lockdown that blanketed Ottawa. She was unclear if the event was over, as no further information was available. While Canadian news personalities were at police gunpoint, American outlets like CBS News and the Associated Press had a full story to sell, complete with the dead shooter's name. Before the scene was secure at 10:54 EDT, a joint release was published to identify the culprit. It stated, the gunman has been identified by US officials to CBS News as Michael Zehaf Bibo, a Canadian national born in 1982. So these coming together, these cameras that were there for no reason, this witness showing photos of a whole bunch of police there before the shooting took place, the fact that they're trying to push through this legislation, and also the fact that Canadian media were stopped from doing their job and harassed by police while the US media already had this story ready to go. This is a false flag attack, plain and simple. Are you going to realise it for what it is? Or are you just going to believe the government? Because the government loves you, right? The government wants your best interests, right? They only take, 30-40% of your money and waste it on nonsense, get to live in these massive mansions, kill people all over the world on your dollar, and they love you, right? You're just going to do whatever it takes to stick up for them. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of all the sycophantic, weak-minded, Stockholm Syndrome people who are apologists for the government, and anytime they do something that's even obvious like this, a massive false flag, people say, oh no, you must be crazy. The government wouldn't hurt us. They would never do that. Idiots. Wake up to yourselves. I'm trying to give you an opportunity here to understand what's happening. Why don't you have the guts to really look what's into it? Really look at what's going on instead of attacking me with ad hominem arguments. Furthermore, there was another shooting in the United States. CNN, SWAT drilled at Washington school day before shooting. CNN broadcast a strange announcement during yesterday's coverage of the school shooting in Washington state, setting off theories that the shooting may have been a premeditated event. Yesterday, it was reported that a freshman student at Marysville Pilchuck High School entered the campus and shot multiple people, killing one before turning the gun on himself. And here is the clip from CNN.
Okay, Steve Cargan, I still have you. I'm getting information, so I'm bear with me as I read this. Local law enforcement, under the direction of the Marysville Police Department, will be holding SWAT training. This was actually yesterday. They had SWAT training. They held SWAT training yesterday in the area around the school district. So take a look at this as we're watching people running. Just gives you chills seeing the students running one after another.
So CNN's talking about drills the day before in an area close by to this. And surely you understand that 9/11 there were drills of planes attacking buildings. That's why there wasn't a full response. On 7/7, the bombings in London, there were drills that the tube stations and the buses were going to be attacked. Whenever there's a drill, it is a red flag to show you that's a false flag attack. But It's up to you. Are you gonna check it out? Are you gonna look into this, or are you gonna keep watching memes of goats dancing? You're gonna keep watching television. You're gonna keep watching the news. What are you gonna do? Because I'm telling you, they're bringing down the hammer, and unless we snap out of it collectively, we're gonna be underneath that hammer when it comes down. Rescue mission to save the Ginger Jihadi, thwarted at 11th hour. This clown, this puppet, this Australian kid apparently looks like he's joined the Islamic State, put out this video. I'm not going to play this video, it's full of hate, saying he's going to come and kill Australians, kill Americans. More propaganda when it's known that the West funds radical Islam to engineer this clash of civilizations so they can oppress all people, take away all of our freedoms, and keep their illegal, evil, murderous wars going on all across the country. A rescue mission to save 17-year-old Abdullah Elmir, dubbed the Ginger Jihadi, from joining Islamic State fighters in Iraq, was abandoned at the last minute because of fears those involved may end up being charged under the federal government's foreign incursion laws. Channel 7 actually came up with a plan to go rescue this kid, but they discovered that if they gave him food and shelter, they could be charged with aiding and abetting terrorists. How about we charge Obama with aiding and abetting terrorists? How about we charge Tony Abbott with doing that? No. People don't want to look behind the curtain. They're happy to feed on whatever nonsense comes out of the television, not willing to look into it deeper. I wish people had more critical thinking. That's what I'm here. That's why I'm dedicating my life to fighting these people. Because I know there's no future if we don't do that. Won't you stand together with me and fight for freedom? From chuff.org. Helps save Steve Marsh's farm. Steve Marsh stood up for his rights. Steve is an organic farmer from a farming community in Kajunup, a small town in the south of Western Australia. In 2010, the state government of Western Australia lifted the ban on genetically modified canola, allowing for the commercial cultivation of the GM crop for the first time. As a result, some farmers, including Steve Marsh's next door neighbour, began growing genetically modified canola. This resulted in GM canola being blown onto Steve's farm. 70% of Steve's farm was contaminated and he lost his organic certification. As Monsanto have signed a no liability agreement with every GM farmer, they take no responsibility for any contamination. Governments decided that no strict liability legislation was necessary, as common law would provide compensation for any economic loss caused to GM-free farmers. And this is Monsanto, this is the government, knowing that genetically modified foods cause cancer, knowing that it's going to spread to infect organic populations. And I stand by Steve Marsh. I've made a donation. I want this guy to win his case, even though the legal system is a disgusting, flawed system that is owned and operated by these globalist eugenicists. I support this guy, and I want him to feel like he's getting some support, because there are a lot of us out here on the front lines, and we need to support each other all that we can, because the overwhelming majority of people are too stupid or don't have the guts to stand up and understand what's really going on. Do you have the guts to do it? It's not as if most people are really that stupid. The thing is, they are too scared to admit that everything they've been told their whole lives is a lie. I'm telling you, that's what's going on here. Have the guts, because you only get one shot in this life. And if you want to cruise through pretending that this doesn't happen, pretending that you're too cool, you want to make fun of it, that's your choice. But you will pay the consequences, and your children will pay the consequences. Moving on to Ebola from Infowars.com. Doctor, feds disappearing. Suspected Ebola patients across the US. US government covering up more Ebola cases inside US, according to medical doctor. A doctor has exclusively revealed to Infowars that health authorities are covering up Ebola cases in the United States and disappearing patients in an effort to avoid hysteria. James Lorenzi, DO, who has 2 clinics in Garden City and Archie, Missouri, appeared on the Alex Jones Show today to warn that the true scale of the situation was being deliberately downplayed. It is important to note that none of these potential Ebola outbreaks occurred at the clinics in which Lorenzi works. Lorenzi said that shortly after the arrival of patient zero, Thomas Eris Dunkett, in the United States, he was told by a doctor at Truman Lakewood Medical Center in Kansas City that they had taken a possible Ebola patient who had a high fever and was bleeding out of all his orifices, having recently returned from West Africa. The following day, Lorenzi was told by the doctor that the patient had disappeared against medical advice, but that he wouldn't have been able to leave on his own given his medical condition. The day after the patient disappeared, a meeting was called for anyone who had contact with the patient. Doctors and other medical workers were told that the patient had malaria. Lorenzi also revealed that drug reps from within the area warned over additional possible Ebola cases in the area. A second possible Ebola patient was then admitted to Research Medical Center in Kansas City the following day, but also quickly disappeared, with hospital bosses claiming he had typhoid, according to Lorenzi. Another massive staged event, a biological terror attack on us from our own governments. They want this to spread, they want people to be freaking out, and they don't want you to know about natural things that you can do to keep your body healthy, to keep you strong against viruses, to reduce your chance of contracting any virus. From organicconsumers.org, Ebola can be prevented and treated naturally, so why are these approaches completely ignored? They go on to discuss, according to an important study published by the Journal of Orthomolecular Medicine, the Ebola virus seems to be selenium dependent. That is, the virus rapidly drains its host of the mineral selenium, making the patient vulnerable to high levels of oxidative stress, which in turn contributes to hemorrhaging and a breakdown of the immune system. Patients who are already selenium deficient, as people in developing nations often are due to food and nutrition insufficiencies, are more vulnerable to Ebola. Then they go on to talk about selenium yeast, intravenous vitamin C that I've talked about before, and vitamin D. They don't want you to know about any natural remedies, natural cures, natural preventative measures. I don't know what the real deal with Ebola is. I've done a lot of research and I've documented it here, how the government has been researching this since the 1960s, how they've been patenting the Ebola virus, how they're allowing it to spread, bringing people into America who have it, sending troops over to Africa to not only control the resources there, but to infect those troops with Ebola, bring them back so it can spread even further. And I saw something really disgusting more than a dozen times on Facebook today. There was a fake article. It is literally a trolling article with a picture of a bunch of guys in hazmat suits, and the headline was, Ebola hits Western Sydney, or Ebola hits, I think, Cowra, a town in New South Wales. I click this thing, and it goes to a page that says, haha, you've been trolled. And so many people are posting this thing, and reposting this thing, and sharing it. We live in a world where people have such a tiny attention span. If you want to grab someone's attention on the internet these days, you need to make a video that's about 15 seconds long, because that's all they can concentrate on. Don't worry about trying to write anything. Don't worry about having anything with depth and critical thinking, because people are so stupid. People just want to be entertained. What's going on is very real. And I say this to you because I really care about you. I care about my family. I care about my own survival. I don't want to be poisoned. I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to have this evil government hanging over me. I'm sure you don't want that too. And think about the police state that we live in now. Think about how much worse it's going to be in 5, 10, 20 years' time if they're allowed to have their way. Don't allow them to do it. Take a stand. And moving on, Russell Brand. It's enamored a lot of people. He's a very charismatic guy. And he is trying to co-opt the movement for change and the movement for freedom around the world. Russell Brand is a socialist. That means he supports socialism. That means he supports the political system that invests authority into a very small group of people, abolishes private property, and the system that has killed millions and millions of people under Pol Pot, Hitler, Stalin, Lenin, The list goes on. Here is Russell Brand in his own words in an interview on BBC talking about how he's a socialist.
I think a socialist egalitarian system based on the massive redistribution of wealth, heavy taxation of corporations and massive responsibility for energy companies and any company that's exploiting the environment, I think they should be I think the very concept of profit should be hugely reduced. David Cameron says profit isn't a dirty word. I say profit is a filthy word, because wherever there is profit there is also deficit, and this system currently doesn't address these ideas. And so why would anyone vote for it? Why would anyone be interested in it?
Who would levy these taxes?
I think we do need to, there needs to be a centralised administrative system, but built on...
Yes, there needs to be a government.
Well, we might maybe call it something else. Call them like the admin bods, right, so they don't get
And how would they be chosen?
Jeremy, don't ask me to sit here in an interview with you in a bloody hotel room and devise a global utopian system. I'm merely pointing out that
You're calling for revolution.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm calling for change. I'm calling for genuine alternatives.
Now, this man and I have one thing in common. We're both calling for revolution. But listen to what I talk about and listen to what he talks about. I understand the problem in the world is government and their illegitimate control over people. Their ability to make laws, to start wars, to kill people, and to lock people up with impunity. I say that the solution to this is to abolish government and have people rule themselves. A true anarchistic system in which there are no rulers, no masters. That is the meaning of anarchy. This guy, this puppet, wants the solution for government murder to be more government. He wants the solution to government theft to be more government. He wants a solution for government tyranny to be more government. And not only government, a socialist government. Now, I understand how many people want revolution around the world and how many people may be swept up by this famous, charismatic dude. But research what people really talk about before you follow them. I don't want you to believe me. I don't want you to follow me. I'm not looking for followers. I'm looking for people who are willing to research things for themselves. People who are willing to be independent, to be sovereign. People who don't want people to control them. People who don't want to follow a leader. People who want to lead themselves. Are you one of those people? I bet that you are. Why don't you do something about it? Moving on to Australia. From in the mix, Lockout laws claim another King's Cross icon. The bourbon has closed its doors. More evidence of how the government, through its regulations, through its controls, through its taxation, through its legislation, is cracking down on every aspect of human freedom, on every aspect of individuality. I ask you to look at things together. I've been posting a lot of these articles today and people coming back and saying, Joe, you've cooked it, mate. You have lost it. Let me tell you what. I've been around the world. I've been to a lot of parties. And I love DJing more than anything. But I understand that standing up for freedom is more important than music. More important than having a good time. Because if we don't stand up for freedom, there will be no nightclubs. There will be no parties. There is going to be, to quote David Orwell, a boot stamping on a human face forever. But I'm not going to let that happen. And neither are you. Can you see, with all of this news around the world, how the government is escalating their attacks on us? You can see it. So it's time for you to get involved. You know that I don't advocate violence. I am a man of peace. I want peace. But the government doesn't want peace. They want to keep killing. They want to keep stealing your money. They want to keep locking people up for having the wrong vegetable in their pocket. No more. Please do your own research. Look at what's going on around the world. Subscribe to my channel. Share this message. Look into what's really going on. Because you have your life in your hands. What are you going to do with it? You're going to watch television? You're going to work for the system and then complain when you don't feel fulfilled? Of course you don't feel fulfilled. You're working to a false system. It's like you're living in the Matrix. Once you take that red pill, once you see the world for what it really is, and once you take a stand and make the commitment to fight it until the day you die, that's when life has true meaning. That's the meaning of life. To stand up for yourself, to stand up for your family, to stand up for your tribe. That is the true survival instinct. I know that we're going to win. I know that we will defeat evil. And I believe and declare that together, you and I, we will crush the new world order. Spread this message. The revolution is here. Woo! Yeah.